Brian, stop the tape.
Okay, Mike. Oh, wait. Rewind that scene, please.
Rewind that scene.
Rewind that scene.
Rewind that scene.
Rewind that scene. Rewind that scene.
I'm Mike Rizzo,
And I'm Brian Bonds.
and this is Rewind That Scene.
That Scene.
A podcast where we go back in time and relive and rewatch our favorite movies growing up in the 80s and 90s, and sometimes the 2000s.
It's true. It's the best. We love all kinds of genres and all kinds of actors and all kinds of friends. And we welcome you to invite your other friends to listen to us talk because we're best friends since childhood.
It's true. We've been making movies since 95, and if you don't believe us, look at our backlog of archives on High 8. It's the best kind of stuff. And also, we tried to dance Poppin Lock and Breakin, break dancing when we were kids.
It's true. One of the most iconic movies, one of our favorite words, but Breakin' is the shit.
1984.
This movie is awesome. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
definitely. If you haven't seen this movie, when you watch it, you will start grooving and popping locks. I mean, it is electrifying. It's an awesome film and has such incredible energy, right?
Yes,
Riz,
yes.
that translates off the
and
movies.
also what's great, I think it was like ahead of its time, obviously, because there was a lot of, pioneers, right? In the, you got the Poppin Taco, Boogaloo Shrimp, played by Michael Chambers, who's on the show today.
Yeah.
Bruno Falcon, who choreographed and helped Michael Jackson, with a lot of his moves, apparently, and was in, Smooth Criminal and a lot of those videos. But also, I think this film has a lot of comedy elements to it. It has, of course, the battle sequences are just iconic. There's so many things iconic and legendary about this movie that we gravitated towards.
Iconic!
Our favorite word.
We need an iconic button.
Yes.
Well, these movies are, as I know we're joking around, but we are talking about history. You're right.
Yes.
There was some, break-in was breakthrough, and there was a storyline in this movie, which is great. But one thing too, Rizzo, I think this was also the beginning too of the era of MTV music videos, aerobics. Dance was big, the clubbing was big, but this was televising that and also making it friendly and community driven and just like I said, electrifying. Like these, like the hospitals. I mean, there's so many great scenes here, and it reminds me, it's all choreographed and synced to music, which was going on MTV and all that stuff. So it really is like this mega movie music video dance piece,
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting too because the two leads, Michael Chambers, Lucinda Dickey, Adolfo, who plays Ozone. I think they came from a background of dancing and all this in their growing up or whatever. So they kind of came all together and they kind of landed this iconic movie based on their skills and love for dancing. Before that. He was in a Lionel Richie music video. He was in Michael Chambers was in Sugar Ray Fly, Shaka Khan. Super memorable music videos as well. So I mean, we are beyond ecstatic to have him on the show, baby.
How did you land the role as Turbo? This movie has been influential to us and has always made us and provoked us to bust a move. Turbo's one of our favorite. That's one of our favorite character names too. Turbo is sick. So, I'd like to know, your journey to this role.
Yes, I love Turbo.
How'd you get it? What's your backstory on the road to Turbo?
Brian, I love it because that is New York in your face, provoking. B-boys would get no. Brian's OG because the whole thing about b-boying and battling is to provoke with the uprock, hands in the face, give the Ken Swift look or whatever to provoke somebody to do something. So I was obviously a very short Negro. I mean, I'm a black person, so technically it's a Negro. I was in a place where I was trying to find my identity without joining the wrong group of people and without displeasing my mother and father and getting kicked out of the house for being a brat. I made my secret utopia watching television. Before on and select TV, you had UHF. So I would get those really cool Japanese channels. Johnny Sacco, Giant Robot, Kimba.
Yes.
Land of the Lost, Chaka Guzani, Wonder Woman, Bionic Woman changed my freaking life because all these scientific things were coming on television and I was glued to the television and I found my special place. I was like, I like the make believe. I like HR Puffin stuff. I like all this. And sure enough, when I start flipping through channels, I started seeing people doing the robot, Shields and Yarnell. If you look at Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, when Gene Simmons and them actually made a movie at Magic Mountain, there's a guy who's moving as a robot. So now I'm this little black kid while disco's going on and everybody's trying to be Tony Manero and then
Yeah.
you know, hey, you know, everybody's getting down because obviously Saturday Night Fever rocked everybody's world. I'm this little black kid going, wow, you got disco over here. And then in between disco, you got the robot. People forgot the robot came out of the disco era. And while everybody was twerking and whatever, these robots were like doing circuitry, simulating space and NASA kind of, you know, gravity kind of things, you know, going into like actually like movements based on science. So I'm taking in all this info and I had no idea that I was imitating artificial robotic stuff based on Ray Harryhausen, based on Clash of the Titans, Jason and the Argonauts. People forget it was hard being black in the 70s because Alex Haley had a television series called Roots. So every day I went to school, I was Kunta Kinte or Toby. People were shooting pot shots at people. I was really trying not to be violent because back then, if you said the N word or you went there, you would catch a bullet or a knife or knuckle sandwich. But I was like, oh, how am I going to navigate? One day I was practicing at the late Poppin Taco's house in Long Beach. You know, we were working out in his garage because you got to practice to master. Hello. That was almost like our point dance class, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8. We made a garage, you know, into our little bar and point. We get this call for a CBS Wild Spot for a TV commercial. We did a routine. One of the guys who put the routine together was featured in Rod Stewart's video, Young Hearts. Young Hearts, be free tonight. Don't let them put you down. Don't let them push you around.
I know that one very well.
Hey, dude, if you see that video, he was the first white guy that they do never give him credit. And there was one guy with a brim and a jacket. And he's a white guy, and he's just dancing his butt up on the train. That guy rocked my world because he was always kicked to the curb because of whatever politics. But this guy, Paul, he was featured in Xanadu with Gene Kelly, still got dumped on, never got credit. And the thing is, when I seen him in Rod Stewart's video, I said, wow, man, this wasn't a Mexican and this wasn't a black, this is a white guy just getting down. And you talk about coveting, I dreamed of having camera time for that. So when we got that call, I had no idea the guy I'd seen on television was the guy that called. That guy was a friend of the guy, Bruno, Electro Rock. And they used to be always, they're almost like the rejects in the club because they were white in a black and Latino dominated kind of dance world. And so when they danced, they actually had to dance harder to prove themselves because there was always this wall because of their skin color. There was just a sense of, okay, I know I'm black. I know we live in the poor side of town. But guess what? I'm free. I'm alive. God gave me air. And I don't care because guess what? It doesn't matter. Black, white, or better, at the end of the day, you're my brother, my sister, period. So I don't care, dude. So I had that attitude, and it's not ego. It's kind of like a life pride. Pride for life. When you're proud and you're secure about life, nothing can harm you because it's a higher thing. For me, I came in with respect. I came in well prepared. I had all this stuff that I learned from the streets. I just was a disciplined person from my mom and dad and our teachings. So when I came to Hollywood, no matter what my talent, there's still that protocol of respect. So I started really getting a lot of jobs based on my attitude and my work ethic. From Lionel Richie to Michael Jackson to Shaka Khan to everybody you can ever imagine in the 80s that I came across or worked with or met, all I did was just follow these artists who were hiring us. If you were dancing at clubs or anywhere, you could get signed and your life would change. So we were actually dancing to be noticed. And that's when my name went way up the top because I was dancing on Hollywood Boulevard after I did that CBS commercial. And the Channel 7 news van stopped right there. So while Paul Moyer did the whole story in his dream, he did a story and he said he wanted us to recreate the same thing And he told all the dancers to go right back to where he's seen everybody and dance. And so they set their cameras up, and we were all battling and showing up. We had no idea that he was featuring street dancers from the valley, all different nationalities. That wild spot was chopped up in pieces, and it is on YouTube. It's funny because nobody ever asked me why was my glide so smooth.
Yeah.
Here's the truth.
Break it down.
Obviously, I danced on the streets, which are concrete. So by dancing in the same shoes, the more that you walk on them, the tread on the bottom is not really made for that much wear and tear. So I'm sliding on concrete. Eventually, it eroded the grooves, the traction. So now I had a smooth bottom because I just kept sliding and I was like, slip sliding away. Any surface that I glided on, people were like, dang, man, this guy's like a ballerina, like a street ghetto version of the Nicholas brothers. Like, who is this guy? When I got to Hollywood, where the stars, the Hollywood stars are, they actually polish the stars. So now I'm dancing instead of concrete. So I was really smooth. So when Channel 7 featured me, it changed my freaking life because everybody who's seen that, the most important person was Mr. Jackson. Somebody showed Michael Jackson that footage, and him and his family said, who is that guy? Next thing I know, we're driving. It was a long way from, Wilmington, Long Beach, California. Next thing I know, I'm like, wow, there's nothing but big homes because where they live, there's just rows and rows of mansions, gated communities. So next thing I know, this big, gigantic gate opens. And I'm like, wow, man, oh my God. These 4 guys come out, Tito, Randy, Jackie, and I'm like, oh, snap. I knew the brothers. I'm like, oh my God. And then I see Katie, Michael's mom. She goes, how you doing, sugar? I'm like, all right, she's very sweet. She goes, okay, come on in. So Michael and his family, they were in another room because at their house in Encino, we went in through the kitchen, and Katie was in the kitchen. And then through the kitchen was a dance studio. So she could open it. Yeah, she could open the door and then boom, there's the dance studio right behind the kitchen. So now we get in the dance studio and Michael, he has this really funny grin on his face because he's getting ready to show his family something they never even heard of. He discovered us on the streets. They were a very private family. And Joe, he's got his jewelry. Like, come on, really bossy. He's like, what is this? What is this? Michael's like, look. So there's Janet, there's Latoya, and Katie. He's like, what? I gotta show you something. So now me and the other guy in the movie Breakin, Bruno Falcon, who passed away, him and I were invited for an impromptu audition with Michael and his family. So Michael brings us to their studio, and he has his family set up. And he goes, you guys are going to love this. And Janet's just smiling. She knew her brother was always up to something. She was like, okay, I can't wait. Because she knew that whatever Michael's going to show, it's going to be big, right? Michael put on his stereo, and I just started dancing. He said, go, boom. I knew exactly what to do. I just went into my bubble, blah, 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 blah. And I saw the look on Michael and Joe's face. And Joe pointed to him, signaled to Michael while I was dancing. They were whispering. I knew exactly what Joe was telling them. Joe's probably said, you better learn anything and everything this guy's teaching. Because I was a nobody. I was a schmuck from the street. They brought me from the streets, the muck and the mire. And Michael got me right around the time they were getting ready for their victory tour, which was very important. That was going to be a big deal. And they didn't have to tell me. They just were like, okay, get and grab because we're getting ready to go on the road and do a lot of press. So the thing is, Michael was a very smart man because Joe told him, get with this kid. And I tell you what, he was very smart because the guy that was brought in with me, Bruno, he knew how to choreograph this new style of popping. See, with any dance style, there's got to be a teacher to teach the 5, 6, 7, 8. I was never a choreographer then. I was a soloist. So Michael was like, okay, this guy's a soloist. This guy's a choreographer. So he was able to separate us.
Yeah, wow.
It makes sense.
Perfect. Yeah. You guys
Michael
were a perfect
was
duo.
like, okay, you know what? Let me get the little guy to work out with me and show me solo stuff. And let me get the other guy to teach me choreography. And there you have it. I got with Michael on a personal level. The rest is history because his solo was over the top. People were like, where's he learning his popping from, right? It's a no-brainer because he was doing my style. But the good thing about the legacy of Bruno, when you seen the choreography in Captain EO, I say Captain EO because that was a full-on popping routine when the robots came out. Matter of fact, he's a featured robot in Captain EO. When the movie Flashdance came out and the box office numbers went up the roof, the breakdancers in Washington Square Park, Normsky, Mr. Freeze, everybody went wild. Like, wait a minute, what's going on with those guys? It's like they didn't want to see a ballet dancer. They're like, wait a minute, who are those guys? Especially Mr. Freeze. Come on now. And then he was doing the moonwalk in the park. So when people went to Flashdance and saw that movie, it's just begun. It was over. Breakdancing was officially launched as something to be reckoned with. Everybody and their grandmother, I'm breakdancing. You're like, Mom, what are you doing? Why you leave me alone? I'm moonwalking. I got my walker. I got moonwalkers. You know, everybody wanted it. It was just a sensation, right? So when that script came out, I remember my agent going, hey, look, you know, there's these two movies. Which one do you want to do? And they're like, okay, I was just listening, of course, because I still was a young kid. I was only 16. They said, look, okay, they're doing a movie called Body Rock, and they're doing a movie called Breaking. Body Rock was eventually cast with Lorenzo Lamas and another little guy that was his sidekick. But Breaking was cast with me and Shabadoo because we already had chemistry because we had been working forever as dancers as a group. That's what made the movie, because when they brought the casting in for Breaking, they go, you know what, we need a guy named Turbo, which is the best dancer. He's a little guy full of energy. That's totally me. The big Turbonsky. Hey!
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I was
Turbo.
over the top, man. My style of
Best.
dancing was like 0 to 60. It's like I didn't have Red Bull. There was no dope. It was just a natural high.
But also your knee spin. Your knee spin was like
I had all this stuff. Yeah, I was hyper. I couldn't do it slow. I mean, I couldn't do windmills, but I could really spin on my knee. I mastered that knee spin because I'm not from New York, but I was honored, respectfully, to work out and dance with Mr. Freeze, to meet Ken Swift and some of those guys at the Fun House, Boogie Down Bronx. So you got to remember, we toured with Lionel Richie. I was in and out of New York before the movie, so I had respect for the Boogie Down Bronx, the Dynamic Rockers, New York City Breakers, you know, Rocksteady. I mean, we knew all those, like Kuriaki, you know, rest in peace. All these people, we knew the best break dancers in the world. Once I got the part, it wasn't over. Now I knew I had a responsibility because we knew the movie Flashdance and Wild Style was already out.
Right.
So
right,
this
yeah.
was a movie about dancers' lives. It wasn't actors like the Step It Up movies. They chose to hire dancers and put us in situations, like situation comedy. They said, okay, they're not actors. Let's do this off page. Let's set up the scene and go organic. And there you have it. Not only was I an improv actor and a funny guy, all my comedy was improv. I didn't read lines.
Well,
I was like, I couldn't read lines because I didn't. It wasn't theater. It wasn't. It's like Stella.
That's what I think. Like all of us responded to was the authenticity behind it, and
Well,
like
no,
the
you know
yeah,
what? And that's
and the comedy
why,
element too.
That's why Breaking was a lot better than Breaking 2. People said from the critics, because when you go green and you go organic, let's go back to Enter the Dragon. The movie Enter the Dragon, everybody talks about that script. It was like the script was terrible, but they didn't make that movie for the acting content. That was the best martial artist ever in that movie. That formula they put in making Breaking. I came in there, my stage name, my Screen Actors Guild name is Boogaloo Shrimp. Boogaloo comes from the Zydeco Cajun, Louisiana, almost like Adam Sandler's The Water Boy, them Cajun people. Zydeco, Boogaloo down the bayou, Forrest Gump, Boogaloo Shrimp, Bubba Gump. The thing is, my name has a lot of my background, my family roots. You know, I'm Creole African American, so I wasn't like Creedence Clearwater, born on the bayou, by the bayou. But my background had Louisiana Cajun kind of Latino ties with my name. So they were like, wow, you know what? For them being Israeli, they didn't really want to go into this cultural thing. They said, oh, just make movie. You are now Turbo. They renamed me. It's like an Alex Haley film. What's your name, boy? What's your name? Boogaloo. No. What's your name?
Classic.
Turbo. Yes. So I got renamed Turbo. Was my statement. What is your name,
But
boy?
it's great because you have like two names. You have two names
I
throughout the
loved
whole
it.
movie. I know, it's kind of great.
It was that scene. What is your name, boy? What? Say it again. Turbo. Okay. So now you got to sound not Boogaloo. No, not good enough. Turbo. So the thing is, I'm a black guy, and I got a job, and I go, Mama, they renamed me. Of course, the older generation. Why did they have to do that to you? Why did they do that to you? I said, you know what? Why did they rename me, Mama? Wait. She said, because your energy is turbo. My energy, and I was hyper over the top, like I needed Ritalin or something. It's like I dance so much, and I have a hyper personality when I'm excited. It's pure natural. Some people that don't get me, they based it on my attitude, my drive, and the lightning precision of my dance steps. So that was the best name I could have ever been titled, Turbo. And so when I got that job, I embraced the Turbo, but I'm glad that they allowed me to keep my stage name, because everywhere that movie went, the studio doesn't own the wardrobe or my look. That look was me getting something blue or new from a Goodwill and just going in with I literally walked around like that. I came in with a messed up hairdo, my Jerry curl. People were like, why did you wear the bandana? Okay, you ready? Obviously, I was blacker than Buckwheat from the Little Rascals, and I was darker than him. If you put us together, I'm darker than Buckwheat. My hair was all messed up, man. I had a schmoolik hairdo. Instead of Tamer of the Shrew, taming the afro. The wardrobe people were like, what do we do with this hair? It's like, because I'm a different culture. It's like, his hair is all over the place. I look like SpongeBob. So the thing is, they're like, okay, what are we going to do? I said, okay, we had to go on camera ready. I got my bandana that I bought as a tourist thing from Japan, and I put it on like Richard Simmons. Hello, don't hit her. Richard Simmons had his workout, and everybody was wearing bandanas, and Olivia Newton-John, let's get physical. So I was like, yeah, okay.
Man, that's a signature Turbo bandana.
Oh, yeah. Afro, man. And I look like a reject from Revenge of the Nerds.
So one memory or story that is your favorite for diehard fans making Breakin' that they might not know.
Now, this is pretty hardcore. So when we're doing Breaking, the thing that got me was I came into the office, the owner, Menachem Golan. He goes, I want to, in his Israeli voice, Menachem, shrimp. I want to speak with you now. Just do it. Menachem was a very tough guy. We're very impressed with you. You have to speak with your parents, because now we're going to take you far away. And we don't want you to panic, because everybody's going to comfort you, but we're taking you far away. But we have to speak with your mom and your dad. So I'm like, wait a minute, we just filmed a movie, but now he wants to take me somewhere else. And he's got to tell my mom, like, oh, man. We were going on a world tour to promote the film, an international tour. So now it was getting real. Now he said, okay, now I need to talk to you. It's very serious. I'm like, oh, there's more? And I needed to sign this contract. And that could have been bad, because if my mom and dad didn't allow me, I don't even want to know what that would have been. So what happened was Shabadoo, Adolfo Quinones, his mother had been a Bible study student, with the Jehovah's Witnesses. So my mom knew that they had Christian beliefs and that, they had some sort of value system. And then knowing that Canon Films, despite their movies, there's a lot of religious people on that crew. She signed that contract. Man, dude, now I'm on an international flight, KLM. I was invited to a Canon meeting at the Cannes Film Festival. They were debuting Charles Bronson's Death Wish. They were debuting Delta Force. They were debuting Life Force. I'm sitting at a table with Canon. I look to my right, Christopher Lee, the ultimate Dracula. The most feared Dracula was right there. I'm like, ah!
Yes.
I'm sitting next to Christopher Lee.
That's amazing.
For a kid, that's pretty scary, dude, because he will always be Dracula. I look to my left, there's Christopher Reeves, and there's all these people. Can you imagine? That's a juicy backdrop of Breaking. But it got even better, because Harry Belafonte had his film Beat Street debuting at the Cannes Film Festival. So Canon Films, they were trying to get all the international film people to buy their film with and meet their stars and get that international press. And now they're introducing the best of the best breakdancers. Get my movie, my movie. Breakdancing is a hot commodity, so everybody's like, okay, who's who? Harry Belafonte says, no, 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 no. Those are knockoffs. They were dissing us. We're the best. We got the Rocksteady crew in New York City Breakers. So Menachem said, okay, look, this is very important. We want you guys to go to the club. The hottest club that night had all the delegates and all the Cannes Film Festival buyers and people. So we danced our butt off. It's just me and Shabadoo and Lucinda. And all the break dancers from Beat Street were doing all these tricks and all this stuff. And guess what? We did our performance and we had our routines and our movie went #1. And matter of fact, on the street level, people said, the breakdancing was better in Beat Street, which is true because breakdancing in itself was the #1 thing that was focused. So Beat Street was a better story because it was a better, I mean, come on, Harry Belafonte is a cinematic legend. So they took time on the story and the actors and featured the greatest breakdancers ever. Canon Film said, okay, we got 3 stars who are masters of what they do. You remember Lucinda, she did a ninja martial arts film with Canon. Lucinda was on a Solid Gold or one of these dance shows. So she knew dance and she was really a super talented jazz dancer, gymnastic person. The harmony of dance fusion, breakdance, freestyle, all styles was right there with our movie. The reason why the scenes work and the choreography work, we had one of the original cast members of West Side Story helping stage it. Jaime Rogers was one of the original West Side Story cast members. So when it came to the broom dance, as I got my solo in the film, that didn't just happen. That was off page. One day I was messing around at the former Debbie Reynolds studio as we're rehearsing at the Debbie Reynolds studio where they did with Michael Peters, Michael Jackson's Thriller. Once we got hired, they knew where we came from, that we were working with Michael, especially me. So the thing is, they're like, oh, snap, we got Michael Jackson's dance teacher. This movie has to be good. Here's the stage. Michael's on tour doing the Victory Tour. He just did Motown 25, introduced the moonwalk as the greatest dance step ever that wasn't breakdancing, but moonwalking was like top rocking. So Canon Films was like, okay, now we got a winning Texas Hold'em, Texas Royal Flush. We got Michael Jackson's dance teacher. You know, the moonwalk is established. Breakdancing is established, but we got all styles and the best of the best. And we got Jaime Rogers as a choreographer, so we can't lose. And MGM distribution. During the break, I was still studying my art. So now I was learning discipline from the dancers that were dancing at Debbie Reynolds. But now I'm looking at ballerinas and ballet dancers using their whole foot. I'm messing around with techniques with my foot to improve my signature style. So if you look at breaking, you can see me going up on my toes. You can see my sliding and everything was like really effortless because I now was using ballet techniques. I saw a janitor's broom and I was just playing around with it like a guitar, right? Like I was shredding on a guitar, right? I was doing like my best Bill and Ted's. Whoa, yeah. I was shredding air guitar, swing. And the thing is, the producers were looking at me going, wait a minute. This kind of reminds me of Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire's kind of solo. And Fred Astaire was dancing with a coat rack. The guy that staged it, Hyman Rogers, knew Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly's work. When they seen me messing around with that broom, they're like, okay, now we got a solo. Let's see if this guy could do like a loose tribute to Fred Astaire, blah, blah, blah. And the rest was history because all it was is just staging. They said, okay, put the music on. Let's get a prop guy to do a drill bit, put some fishing string and do some really cool edits. Now you had my non-CGI, non-green screen, cheap theatrical prop that worked. When that movie came out, the best compliment I ever got in my life was from the late Siskel and Ebert. Remember Roger Ebert, Siskel and Ebert were the authority of movie critics back then. When they reviewed my movie, they're like, God, this guy's like a hip hop Fred Astaire. I mean, he literally said that. You got to see they pumped up. You got to see this movie. They're like, oh, the story's crap. The acting's mediocre. They dumped on it. They're like roasting me, like, keep it coming. Bad hygiene, bad buck teeth. They were dumping on us a raspberry award, right? But they said, when it comes to that broom, you got to see it. Everybody said, I saw that movie because everything sucked but the broom.
That is such a cool scene. I know.
I mean, I was so
memorable. So memorable.
I had no idea that the broom scene was going to take that kind of precedent over the film. I had to share that because that's a very serious backstory to Breaking 2 and how I grew into my position of special effects, because that special effects thing was very important. But it even gets better. You ready? I had no idea when we were filming Breaking 2. One day we were filming in Hancock Park, making a lot of noise because film crews, they're relentless, especially in the morning. There's this guy coming across the street, really angry, and it's Muhammad Ali because they're making noise. What y'all doing?
Oh.
Hey, you're not supposed to film across the street from Muhammad Ali and he's not going to say nothing. He don't need a bodyguard. So he comes across the street and everybody just stops like, he's, what y'all doing? We're like, oh no, it's a job. Get the picture. He walks right on the set. What y'all doing? And then Sam Persenberg, oh, Mr. Ali, sorry for the noise. He's like, we're doing a film. He's like, who are you? I go, I'm Boogaloo. Boogaloo what? And who is this? Shabadoo, is Shooby-Doo. Yeah. They're like, oh my God, everybody's panicking like this is a legend. He's on the set. We got the pictures because people were just popping out pictures. He goes, ain't I the greatest? And yeah, I'm not going to argue. I don't want those fists. When that song comes, there's no easy way out. That is totally the mansion of Breakin. Once I found out that Breaking 2 had ties with Mary Pickford, Hollywood royalty, right across the street from Muhammad Ali's house. And then, of course, we was filming on the same location as Ultimate Italiano from, Philadelphia filming. Yeah, Mr. Stallone, Planet Hollywood. Hey, that's huge, right? At our age and the tone of the world, the way that it's going, there's still a lot of great pioneers of the hip hop arts from the Bronx and New York. I mean, the graffiti artists, we lost Keith Haring, but the graffiti people, the textures, the people who know music, Cool Herc style, the underground, the whole Tin Pan Apple, Charles Stetler, there's still surviving people who could use that kind of worldwide attention that's coming with the Olympics. For the record, the Olympics has officially announced breakdancing being a sport in 2024.
Oh, wow. Hell yeah.
That's right around the corner. But until that actually happens, people are already preparing sponsors and the excitement is happening. So what that means is with excitement comes a paycheck. And there's families and there's people with this COVID and the way the world's going. Everybody's trying to make a living somehow. And with unity, people talk about the word unity. With unity comes a support system where we can be a voice to help other people's families. So for me and you, by all of us doing this interview, I'm hoping that God Almighty and people who believe in him will allow certain people to be able to eat and open up jobs to that form to give the pioneers their glory. Let them do what they do while they're still here, provide for their families and the art and the profession that they've chose all their life. It makes sense, right?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. That's awesome, man.
Always love learning the origin stories about where people started, where the creative spark was, and really just amazing soul and personality. I mean, this film was really the birth and origin of just so many fun careers and just the dancers' personalities too.
There's one thing that I think Brian and I rewatched over and over and over. Aside from this movie, there's one scene on Venice Beach where a guy is wearing black leotards. You know who that is, right? Jean-Claude Van Damme. In his first ever uncredited movie, apparently, allegedly.
Yes, that's crazy.
Yes.
And like the fact that, of course, martial arts and the different karate stuff that he does, he's doing, again, flexibility, dancing, busting that move. Listen, flexibility and mobility, not to get all health on you, Bobo, PSA style, but it is important. You got to get those hips going. So put on the soundtrack to Breakin'. Look up what Michael's doing.
Yes.
Check out the Mr. Boogaloo Shrimp and get down with the sound, baby.
And rewatch this movie and tell all your friends about it. And hopefully, maybe one day they'll make another Breakin' series, right? Maybe who knows?
It's gonna get remade, right?
Right?
Yes, and they'll get someone really cool as well, who's current day to be in it. They remake everything. They reboot everything. They recry everything. No, but it's true. It's true. Definitely check out Breakin'. And also, if you're on social media, give us a follow. If you're on YouTube, check out our web series. Check out the other episodes. In addition to sharing
Touch
this,
Helpline is our web series. Highly recommend it. It's a beautiful web series.
Yeah,
and hopefully maybe me and Brian could do some poppin', lockin', and breaking and some b-boy stuff one night together.
Yeah, we're always busting out moves with our beautiful asses.
Yeah, check out Holiday Lights if you don't believe us on YouTube. Holiday Lights, Dyka Heights, baby.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much.